All right, so going against what was suggested before, I do have a quick PowerPoint. But it's just to make the point, and the same one actually you'll be able to download on a QR code that you have on your ticket. If we can put the PowerPoint on, I'm going to show some numbers. All right, why don't we, in the meantime, while we're putting that on, okay, we've just started. I'm going to go real quick. This is just a recap of some of the data that we gathered 6 months ago, and we just published today a new version of this report. Bottom line is that we've been calculating and having a look of these new trends of large European corporations having an outpost, an innovation outpost here. And so we wanted to get a sense of really, what's going on there and what are the countries that are actually pushing more along those lines, as well as what are the verticals that are mostly represented, and why the heck everybody is coming here. So this is kind of the latest recap. We tracked 45 corporations, and out of those, you see some flags. Germany and France are actually head-to-head, as normally happens. And a few other countries down the line have been represented. But I think most importantly, the verticals that where you see a lot of new entrants in terms of corporations outposts are on the automotive and in the telecommunication, as well as financial services and insurances, and a number of different other verticals. This is, the way that it's structured overall. Can be of different sizes, can be a corporate R&D center, can be an innovation lab where you guys are building a prototype as well, can be a corporate venture capital outpost, some of you actually represent that, or can be an innovation antenna that typically is 1 or 2 people in a co-working space, getting a sense of really tracking of what's going on in your world of reference. This is kind of a map where you see them around and some of the companies that are out there. So I'll leave all that data. There is much more, and also the way they are structured, that I think this is a good topic to discuss. The only thing that I would add from this one is that out of the 45 corporates that we have tracked, 50% of them were not here 4 years ago. So that's definitely a trend. So I want to talk about real quick about this trend, but why don't you guys introduce each other? I mean, introduce one after the other real quick.
Hi, my name's Mcgraw, and I'm actually on the wrong panel, but I owned a company that did innovation for large companies, so there you go.
I was wondering why we had one more, but you got to be flexible here.
Yes, exactly.
I love this.
I'm Joe Boggio. I'm with Capgemini. I lead our innovation exchange in San Francisco.
Valérie Floridia, I'm the Innovation Director for EDF here in the US.
Sebastian Niestrath from innogy New Ventures.
I'm Patrick Rumpel from Audi, and I run an innovation office in San Francisco.
All right, so let's go more on the macro objectives. Why did you guys come here? So why don't you give a little bit of a background of the main reason and a little bit of history. You all have different history. You all came here at a different time. You're all pretty recent. Probably Valérie is a little less than that. But why don't you go real quick, give a little sense of your innovation outpost here. Joe.
Yeah, we started our initiative about 3 years ago, and it was kind of inspiration from our CEO. And we're, just to give a little context, we're a 50-year-old, this is our 50th anniversary, global IT strategy design consultancy based in Paris. And at the time, 3 years ago, we had a small office by the airport here. It was very modest. If we were going to interview somebody, we would take them to a Starbucks. We wouldn't take them to our office. And we began to realize that in the next generation of professional services, our next generation of customer, our next generation of talent, our next generation of partner ecosystem is all right here. So we didn't want to have an office, we wanted to have a presence. And we knew on average about 150 to 200 very senior level clients of ours come to this area every year. We didn't have a lot of clients in the area, but we had a lot of clients that came to the area, and they would ask our opinion on who should we meet. We want to go do some tourism. So we tried to take it up a few levels. So we have about 10,000 square feet in San Francisco. We do a handful of things with clients, from running half-day to one-week workshops to inform a certain topic around their sector, their industry, their business model, or customer experience. We do prototyping. We now are getting into co-location where clients can actually live with us. So when you think about creating an antenna, it's often hard to get started if you don't know the region, you don't know the ecosystem. So we provide a platform for our customers to get started with, and then leveraging our service ecosystem and our partner ecosystem to augment their innovation agenda.
All right. And you have a beautiful spaces actually next door to our office, so
Yeah,
highly recommend it. Valérie.
So actually, we have a EDF Innovation Lab here based in Los Altos, and actually the activity started in 2009 with one person here in the US, as we realized that we have new people, new players in the energy field, and we started discovering Google acting in the energy sector, and we say, okay, we have to be present and we have to be open to globally. So that's why we built actually 3 different offices, one in China, one in Silicon Valley, and one in Europe, to have an overview about what's happening in the startup world. And we're starting with scouting, so the historical mission of the Innovation Lab is really to scout interesting startups, the most relevant startup for EDF and for the business unit, to accelerate the transformation of the group and to develop some commercial partnership. So it started like that, and now we expanded the Innovation Lab. We are already 12 people working here, and so with 2 different additional goals, I would say. So tracking trends and identify the blind spot for EDF to see what could be the next activities for EDF, the new businesses for EDF. And then testing these opportunities and these new businesses here in Silicon Valley because of the fast-paced manner you can test the different projects you have here.
Good. Sebastian, what is innogy doing here?
So I want to spend 2 or 3 sentences on innogy very quickly because it's a very new company. It's part of the RWE group in Germany. We're one of Germany's largest utilities, 23 million customers in power and gas. And we are here mainly for 2 reasons. On the one hand, we work with startups to develop new business models for our customers in Europe. We've realized the future utility is not just about selling electricity and gas anymore. We need to diversify ourselves, get into new areas. And the second part is we invest in startups as well.
Yeah, so you're one of the representative on the investment side of the corporate venture capital.
Right.
Patrick.
Okay, so I will be totally open and honest. I mean, first of all, it looks super cool to say we are in San Francisco and on a slide level, and we do scouting, we work with universities, we hire local talent. This is the slide level, and every CIO in Germany wants to have that because it's just cool. And to be honest, we started with this mission here 1.5 years ago, but we learned relatively fast that this is not the real story. And the thing is, I mean, we heard a lot about the disruptive change in automotive and in mobility, and we have to change the company to survive. And the thing is, what we try to do from here is to support this change, to evangelize, and to bring as much as possible of the spirit here in the Silicon Valley back to this huge corporate in Germany. And how we try to do is with doing projects and build real outcomes, not just slide level. So we really prototype, we build MVPs, and hopefully we bring them to serious production in Germany or in the worldwide market. And this is our KPI that we have.
Ahmad, you want to add something? Oh, no, I'm kidding. I'm happy to have you here, a little early. So I've been here 15 years and counting, and this trend, I think, is changing over time. I think there was a time where a lot of telecommunication companies landed here, but definitely the acceleration of what's happening now, especially in some of your verticals, is something that is relatively new. So the question for whoever wants to take it, is that trend here to stay? What's your feeling? I mean, especially you guys, you know, Capgemini, that's kind of your role also, being kind of the receiver for a lot of corporations. What is your feeling? I think you're betting on it, right?
Yeah, I think in the few years we've been here, we keep seeing this trend, and this may not translate international, but you know the term lawyer up, right? We see so many firms labbing up Like everybody kind of says, to your point, like, oh, well, we got to get a lab, we got to get in the valley. And then I think there's this incredible introspection and learning curve that comes immediately after that, that it's not about, you know, drones and robots, and maybe in part it is, but it's a lot more about the intrinsic change that an organization needs to go on. It's about vitality. So I think there's having a presence here has changed us as a company. And I think we've realized that a lot of what we need to become in the future by having a presence here. And I think we're seeing a lot of our clients do that. I think the other is that you get in and then you find that you're having a hard time navigating the area. And I think one of the immediate things that we learned is the openness of the culture here, that everyone is very willing and supportive to help get you connected, because they know it's going to come back to you. And there's we got coaching early on, which was give more than you get. So we don't make investments in startups, but we spend a lot of time and give a lot of energy and a lot of currency to startups when we work with them. So it's helped us immensely.
Anybody wants to add anything?
I think it also depends on the vertical. So looking at your numbers earlier, there aren't many utilities in Silicon Valley right now. And I think that will change over the next years. Especially those of you who are familiar with German energy policies. There has been a lot of change in the last 5 to 10 years. So, and I think that's not only happening in Germany, it's also happening in other countries, or will happen very soon in other countries. So my projection is that we will see more utilities or energy-related companies coming to Silicon Valley.
It's funny, actually. I just realized we have half Germany, half French, France on this side. All right, so
50-50.
What do European corporations have to learn here, and what can they teach? Go, Patrick. All yours.
Okay, so the biggest and most important learning for me is how to use the strength of the Silicon Valley best for your corporation. And I don't want to offend anybody here in the room, but doing startup tourism, coming here for a couple of days, meet 25 startups, whatever, go to meetups, this is not the right way to do it. This is just a waste of time. You have to be part of the ecosystem, and this is why I say it's so important to be here. And you have to be willing to really work together with the startups and the companies and start projects with them, and not just visit them and then come back to Germany and say everything is awesome in the Silicon Valley. So you really have to be willing to do groundwork, to leave the slide level and go a lot of steps deeper, and to facilitate the technology.
That's on the learning side. What can they teach?
Yeah, I agree on what you said, and at the same time, you have to bring a kind of Silicon Valley and Silicon Valley mindset to the corporate, because otherwise you have really two different entities and a big gap between the two different entities. So what we managed to do at the beginning, our corporation business unit wanted to come to the Silicon Valley just to meet startups. And I say, no, not possible. So it's not a learning expedition, it's a business expedition. If you want to come here, you have to get and to have clear objective about what you want to achieve with a startup. Because here, the startup, it's amazing. They are really business driven. Time is money, and Martin mentioned it. Time is very worthful, so you have to pay attention to that. And it's very important, because if you waste the time of the startup here, at some point, you can build really a bad reputation. So you have to be careful about that. And I mentioned that if I look at the two business expeditions we organize with our different business units, actually we launch with them 3 different projects, and we have some contracts going on with startup and corporation like Amazon or Google, for example. So, yeah.
So no, you think you guys you cannot teach anything to local companies here? Want to get something on the positive side?
Okay.
So I'll throw one out. We, as I mentioned, we host about 150 clients a year from every place around the world. And we've hosted companies that are older than the United States.
There we go.
And what we learn from them is the business model resiliency, and the clock speed's changing, and every 15 years your business model is getting replenished. Well, when your company's 300, 280, 300 years old, they've learned that. They've got some resiliency. They've got a management discipline that they're not overstated, but they've learned that lesson. And I think there's a wisdom that we see from a lot of our clients that have a lot of years of tenure and business model evolution over those years.
And I think it's telling that this is by the only American guy in the panel, right? Recognizing that. So good on you. We're short on time. You want to add something quick?
Yeah, sure. Especially the smaller startups who are not used to deal with huge corporates in Europe, they can learn from us how to do it. And we want to bring these two ends together and not to scare them. But I mean, they are super fast. We are a slow-moving boat in the ocean. And so how to bridge this gap, this is the challenge, how we can teach them.
And also speaking from an investor perspective, a lot of startups asked us, why should we work with innogy? What does innogy bring to the table when you invest in us? And if you think about it, what startups want over here, they want scale, they want customers, and we have 23 million customers in Europe. So we can be the door opener to Europe, we can help startups to test something in Europe, and that's what we are.
Very good. Now you put in, you're in sales mode. All right, perfect. 20 seconds at a time, each of you. I want to know, what is your take on the future of open innovation? Patrick, you start this way, and we go all the way to Joe gets the last.
I want to be last.
Joe, you're first, and Patrick, you'll be last.
I'll go first. I think open innovation future is it becomes an open sourced external R&D engine that if you don't learn how to tap into, you don't get to learn how to tap into it.
Love it. We can tweet that. Valérie.
I think you're not alone anymore as a corporation with your own R&D, and you have to go over this syndrome of not invented here and co-develop with startups. So it has a big future, I guess.
Sebastian.
Working with others is not a threat anymore, it's an opportunity. And that's a mindset we need to embrace.
Patrick, you're not delay anymore.
Okay, I saved some seconds. Innovate or die. This is what we learned here, and this is what we have to bring back to the headquarters.
Which is exactly what we say on our T-shirt. So thank you very much, you guys. A little short. We move to the next panel, and you stay here. So.